Hi, welcome to the first episode of Quarantine Talk. I'm your host, Jerry Chen. This is a show where we discuss the latest development and our personal experience surrounding the pandemic.
With guests all around the world. This week, we feature speakers from China, Spain, and India. The following show is recorded on March 28, 2020. Enjoy!
Today, we have three guests calling from all over the globe.
I'm Paul.
I'm Alex.
I am Shweta.
Hi, everybody. Now, for the first segment of our show, we're gonna run down the main news from each of our country. For me, I'm from Taiwan. I'm calling from Taipei. My local time is 10:38 at night. The first piece of news from my country, Taiwan, is according to the latest update from the CDC, Taiwan Center for Disease Control. We currently have 283 confirmed cases. 241 are imported cases and 42 are locals. Out of the confirmed cases, there were 2 deaths. We are seeing a surge from 268 to 283. Just for today, there are 16 new cases. Majority of them are cases where the infected came from abroad. To give some historical context, Taiwan suffered heavily a decade prior during the SARS epidemic of 2002 and 2003. We lost a lot of people, 73 people in total, and 3 out of 346 infected. As a nation of 23.57 million, it was a heavy loss. So after that situation, our GDC has improved a lot since and has taken a lot of countermeasures. We are one of the first countries to start doing tests, start inspecting any flights coming from Wuhan, because in Taiwan there's a lot of business people coming back from Wuhan. They were doing business there, and the government took measures as early as January to sort of try to check these flights, and sort of in many ways they even went to the extent of banning residents from Wuhan. Which is why they were able to stop the infection coming in early to keep it low. I think until March, we only have 30 cases. But after March, when people start returning from abroad, from countries like in Europe, in America, and elsewhere, the numbers start going up. And so the other news coming from Taiwan is there has been a petition calling for the resignation of WHO Director General Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus. My apologies for the pronunciation. That signature has surpassed 580,000 signatures. So there was this Canadian citizen that claimed that WHO's delayed response to COVID-19 has resulted in a global health emergency that become uncontrollable. According to the Taiwan Ministry of Foreign Affairs, they say the leader of WHO believes most of the online comments accusing him of incompetency are part of a politically motivated scheme carried out by Taiwanese cyber warrior. The statement has yet to be verified, but was reported across outlets. This is the latest from Taiwan. As you can see, relatively to a lot of nations, Taiwan has been able to contain the situation so far. But the Taiwan is expected to see the numbers grow over the next few weeks, and we are not yet in situations of lockdown. But people are speculating once we pass the number of 300 infected, cities may go into lockdown soon. And so, yeah, that's the news from Taiwan. What about you, Paul?
So, hello everyone. I'm Paul from China, Shanghai. And the time of Shanghai now is 11:15. Yeah, 11:15. So I got 3 news. The news in China mainland is like there are from today there are 650 cases have been detected entering China from abroad, and the people they are all affected by the coronavirus. And the second news is China began to control the number of flights to reduce the number of people who came from abroad, because you can see that we got a lot of people who came from abroad. To avoid infection during the trip and make sure the coronavirus will not explode in China again, so we take this action. I think before we take this action, there are around 25,000 people came back from like Europe or American or other country per day. And after the action, it will be around 5,000 people come back per day. And the third news is like from the March 28th, China will temporarily stop foreigners from entering the country with China passports or residence permits, because I think we just want to control the people who came from abroad. So these are the three news.
Thank you, Paul. Now to you, Alex.
Hi, I'm Alex from Spain, and it's currently 5:46. We are currently in day 14 of quarantine. That means everyone's in lockdown. No one can leave their houses, only for grocery shopping or going to the pharmacy or to walk the dog. People can only go out in one at a time, like one person from each household. Spain is currently the second country with more positive cases. It's 65,441, and we're the fourth country worldwide after China and United States and Italy. Shops and bars and restaurants and a lot of places just had to close down, and little businesses are having trouble. So the country wants to make money, but they want to save the money from the public treasury, if that makes any sense. So the idea that our government has is to the European Union for money. Germany and Italy don't want to do this. So as for now, they're negotiating it. One curiosity, if anything, is that today one of the topics in Twitter was the name of our dictator who passed away in 1975. So that's just curious.
Thank you, Alex. Now to you, Shweta.
Hi, I'm Shweta again. I'm from Mumbai, India, and it's 8:15 now. I think I need to give you guys a little bit of background. So the first case of coronavirus was detected on the 30th of January, 2020. So it's been 2 months so far. The count for today is if I have to be exactly accurate, we have 918 cases so far, of which 80 cases have been cured and 17 deaths. So I think for a population of 101.3 million, India has done sufficiently well. I mean, not the best, but sufficiently well to contain the pandemic. As you all probably know, that we are on a 21-day lockdown. It's day 4. We aren't allowed to go out. All the restaurants are closed. All the bars are closed. Just essentials are available. The government is trying its best to make all the essentials available, food, medicines, but it's been a bit of a problem because all the shops, are closed. Everybody's scared. There's inflation. Onions, which was 30 rupees a kg, is 120 rupees now. So it's just like multiplied 4 times, which is really bad. Medicines, the medicine shop next to my house has not received any new medicines for the last 5 days. It's a bit of a trouble. Daily wage workers are suffering the most because they don't have any work. Food, traveling, everything is a bit of So since it was announced just a day before, people didn't have any time to prepare themselves, stock up food or plan or go, So that was a little bit dodgy, I think. If we had a couple of days to prepare for the lockdown, it would have been much easier. But I wouldn't blame the government again, because again, in a developing country like India, it becomes very hard to contain the disease if it starts spreading at a faster rate. So the government is doing its best. And yeah, there's a lot more to do, but I think we're in a good start. And no new deaths today. The cases are on a rise, but no new deaths, which is a good thing. All flights have been cancelled. No travelers from Europe, UK, or any foreign countries are allowed into India, including Indian nationals. But the government is doing its best to, send flights to bring those who are stuck in foreign countries. They're sending government, choppers and stuff to bring people who are stuck in airports and stuff, which is pretty good, I think.
Thank you so much, Shweta. Thank you, everybody, for your most current updates on your respective countries. So our next segment will be sort of talking about a relevant piece of information outside our respective countries. Alex, would you like to elaborate?
Sure. Well, this week, Boris Johnson, UK's Prime Minister, has tested positive for COVID-19. The Prime Minister has recently been surrounded by controversies and criticism after stating, and I quote, "It is going to spread further, and I must level with you. I must level with the British public. Many more families are going to lose loved ones before their time." The initial plan proposed by the leader of the Conservative Party was to work towards achieving the immunity of the British citizens. However, specialists warned that this would imply the infection of at least 60% of the population without reassurance of the strategy's efficiency.
Thank you so much, Alex. So now we'll go to a segment where we will discuss our experience in travel, where we like how we got back, because we all came from the UK. My apologies. Because we all came back from the UK, and I believe it will be like for most of us, it's quite a hard and long journey. And this is why we're here to discuss, is to sort of give information on how our travel has been, give information to people who may be stuck during travels. Shall we talk about the visa, Alex?
Sure. This is quite a bit of reading, but basically the United Kingdom government said that the visas expiring between the 24th of January and the 31st of May of this year will be extended to the 31st of May. And for that, you need to know that it's not automatic, and you need to register with the coronavirus immigration team with your full name, your date of birth, your nationality, your previous visa reference number, and the reason why you cannot go back to your home country. For example, that the border is closed in your country, or in this case, maybe the UK is closed. They also advise, because this was sent by Newcastle University, which I think we're all from. Well, Jerry just graduated, but they said, the government also says that if you're planning to stay in the UK long term, it says, and I quote, "During these unique circumstances, you'll be able to apply from the UK to switch to a long-term UK visa until the 31st of March. This includes applications where you would usually need to apply for a visa from your home country. You'll need to meet the same visa requirements and pay the UK application fee. And this includes those leaves which are automatically extended to 31st of March of this year. But you can apply online, and the terms of your leave will remain the same until the application is decided."
Thank you so much, Alex. So I guess from this piece of news is I want to pose a question, because I think everybody here, Paul, Alex, Shweta, we all managed to, including me as well, we all managed to get home safe before our respective borders has been closed or travel has been restricted. But in this hypothetical scenario, what happens if any of your visa ran out, and what would be your like how would you find accommodation? How would you find a way to stay? What would be a hypothetical scenario if you couldn't get back home and you couldn't extend your visa? Paul?
I think for me, I just need to worry for my study, and I feel like I just got essay at the end of this semester, and the school also emailed us like you don't need to worry about your visa and your attendance and your assessment. So I choose to come back to China. So that's all.
Paul, do you think you will? Would you have a place to stay if you weren't able to get back home? What do you have a backup plan if the flight was cancelled?
Actually, no, I was in China. So if my plane was canceled before I came back to China, I will stay in my flat and keep myself safe, and nothing else.
Thank you, Paul. That sounds very sensible. What about you, Alex? If you happen to be, not able to get home, what would your plan be?
I had a few plan B and C. If my flight was cancelled, because my situation was a bit weird because I don't have direct flights to Madrid. So there were three options. Option A, I would get stranded in Alicante, which was my connection flight. So I was going to take a flight from Newcastle to Alicante and then a train. If they closed the borders and I would get stranded in Alicante, I would stay there with some family friends. Option B, if I got stranded in Newcastle, I would go to the US with my dad, who's living in Florida. And if not, option C, D, I don't know. I would just stay in Newcastle in my flat. That's it.
Yeah, it's probably the most sensible solutions. What about you, Shweta? What would you do if you're stuck in London in your case?
Well, I guess I didn't have the visa problem because I already got an extension. But actually, I had my trip planned for the 23rd of March. And then suddenly I got to know that India is banning all travels from UK, Europe, and a number of countries from the 20th. So I had to prepone my ticket immediately, and I preponed it to the 20th, I think.
I think Shweta's recording audio for me.
Okay.
The internet connectivity is really weak
Uh-huh.
for some reason. I don't know why. And I sit in the stairs because the connectivity was better. But my neighbors are really paranoid, and they feel that they're like miles away from me. So they feel that I should probably be inside a room, confined to a room. That's another problem in India. Actually, people are really paranoid.
Can you guys hear the audio message?
Not very well. What did you say?
Yeah.
I heard something about neighbors, and that's it.
Oh.
So I don't think I can go to a place and sit in a place where the Wi-Fi is strong, which is funny. But I think it will be really the connectivity. I can't hear you guys talk. The screen is frozen all the time if I sit inside my room. So it would be good if you guys go ahead without me, or wait for me to finish this self-quarantine 14 days, just 3 more days to go, and then I'll be able to go anywhere I want and then record. Sorry about today.
Apologies to everybody. Shweta has to leave the chat because due to poor connection. Hopefully, she would able to join us in a future chat because the Wi-Fi at her house is currently just unavailable. So back where we left off, we were discussing about our travel experience. Like we stated, all of us are students of Newcastle University, and we're forced to go back home during this period of crisis some of the countries, some of the borders of the country, like we mentioned, has been closed. For example, in India, all borders are closed, even for Indian citizens. For Taiwan, at least for the minute, Taiwanese citizens are still able to return home. But any foreign citizen has been barred from entering the country. And in UK currently it's in lockdown. If we weren't able to get back home in time, we will be stuck in UK, where none of us would be able, like most of us back in our country are still in lockdown, but at least we're in our own homes. But in UK, if we're still in UK, we will be confined to our homes as well, with only one trip permitted by government to buy groceries or exercise. I guess I'll go first about my travel experience of how I head back home. So for me, heading back home was an extremely difficult journey. I had to make perhaps one of the most difficult flights I ever gone through. I was stuck outside for almost over 40 hours. It was not a easy feat. Because before my flight began, my flights was canceled for 4 times. First, I was initially going to take a flight on 21st of, on 18th of March, to get from taking Emirates airline to fly from, I think, Dubai. And from Dubai, I'll rest for 4 hours before I fly back to Taiwan. But that flight was canceled, and then it was replaced with a flight from Turkey, and then that was canceled as well. And after that, I got a ticket to Amsterdam, and from Amsterdam I can fly back to Taiwan. But unfortunately, my flight to Amsterdam was canceled again. So the only it's like a very long list of
Summer would be
events. Yeah.
Summer would be proud. Would be very proud.
You have no idea how glad I was when I was able to get on the flight, because literally I got a flight a day before my flight was supposed. So my initial flight was on Friday, where I'll fly at 6 o'clock from Newcastle and arrive around 8 in Amsterdam, and from there I'll take an 11 o'clock flight from Amsterdam back to Taipei. But the thing is, they canceled my early morning flight, and only flight left is the day early. So I had to get a flight of 5 o'clock on Thursday afternoon and get to Amsterdam and then spend the night in Amsterdam. But there was another hiccup, which is my passport was going to expire within 6 months. And normally it will be fine if it's just transferring flights. But the issue was I booked another flights, which is a KLM flights to Amsterdam separately from my initial flight. So there's no guarantee they'll let me on the flight because my passport is going to expire soon. So I literally wasn't sure I was able to board the flight. Like before I gone in, we discussed what your plan was if you're able to get back home. I was 50% unsure about getting on a plane because there's just too many risks. There's the risk of me not unable to get on board the plane, so I will be stuck in Newcastle. In terms of accommodation, I'll be fine because my lease is until 27th of March, which is yesterday, I guess. I still have some food left, but only for 1 or 2 days. So I was also unsure I wasn't able to get on the flight. I actually left some food and some most of the stuff I took home in a luggage case or I donated, but I left something like life essentials back at my accommodation just in case I wasn't able to get on the flight and have to keep on living in Newcastle. And so that's where I was before I boarded my plane. Yes?
Yes. Jerry, what are you gonna do with the things that you left there? Like, because food, of course, well, it'll be thrown out. But
yes,
what about your actual stuff? Like, are they gonna ship that to where you are, or are you gonna go back and pick it up?
because like most of the stuff I either gave away or donated, but the stuff I left back, I hope it's all, if I remember right, it's all disposable. I think it's just
Okay.
tissue papers, which is
Oh.
rare nowadays in UK. Apparently, yeah, it becomes a rare item.
They're just gonna sell it. They'll sell it.
Yeah, when I told the managers like, oh, what about these stuff I left behind? They're like, it's fine. The person who's gonna take over my room is probably gonna need those things as well. So it's not a big deal. Which is like, ooh, I guess so. So I wasn't sure I was able to get back home. But finally, on the day, the flight attendant was nice enough to let me get on the flight after I explained my situation of flights getting canceled. And the journey was not easy because first off, like, I mean, the first gate I passed because they let me in. They let me go outside the border, after some security checks. Then I run into a woman who were sort of really mean because like I was in a public place. I was talking to my parents on the phone, and she screamed at me for creating a virus, which is a completely unfounded and ridiculous accusation. I tried to argue with her, but that kind of people, when you just run into it, there's no way of explaining. But fortunately, there were people around me that was able to defend me, and then they even call in the cops. The cops even gave her a talking to, but she accused me of using foul language, which I think I'm justified because she accused me of a lot of racist stuff. So I responded back with some foul languages, and after that, the flight was all right to Amsterdam, but it was really rough in Amsterdam because I was stuck in an airport that has maybe less than what they usually have, because I traveled to Amsterdam before, and there's usually a lot of passengers there, but in these circumstances there's actually a lot less, but still there's like a lot of people, and I have to find a place where I can spend the night sleep. For the first few hours I was literally wandering through the airport trying to find a place where I can just get some shut eye, and eventually around 11 or 12 I found a seat where I can lie down, but it's just quite uncomfortable. I wasn't able to really rest well. I was told not to touch too many things or go to the toilet too often, but always wash my hands. I try to limit my movement so I can limit the possibility of getting infected. It's quite a stressful experience, especially when you see people are walking by you when you're sleeping there. You weren't able to sleep entirely because you're worried someone may just take your luggage. I had spent 12 hours in the airport, and when I get on a flight, it's another different situation because like you see when you're lining up, when you're queuing up, you see a lot of people, especially Chinese folks, including me. I was wearing a raincoat with literally because normally people, in order to protect their eyes, they will have protective gear. They will have what's it called, like those skiing mask, like those skiing glasses, like those big ones.
Yeah,
they'll wear it. And
I also have that one.
Yeah, I have that as well. Ironically, mine was a swimming goggle.
Wait. Give me 2 seconds. I can show you that one.
Yes.
Wait, how did you manage that with the glasses? Because obviously, if you take away your glasses, you do not see. You're blind.
The solution is not to wear them, because like on the flight, you just have to. Normally in the flight of 12 hours, I'll watch a film or a couple of films, but in this situation, like people's like, don't watch the film, don't use the computer, don't even use the screen on the flight, which is like painful because for 12 hours I just have to close my eyes with goggles on it, and it was just the most painful thing ever. And also I'll have the sleeping mask, the mask covering my eyes to avoid exposure. Do you want to show the glasses, Paul?
Please show them again. This is just priceless.
And this is one of my equipments.
Yes.
Good.
Oops.
Yeah, I do have the Dextol wipes as well. I
Yeah.
only have a fanny pack, like a small pack with me, filled with wipes
Mhm.
and alcohol and hand sanitizers. I know that sounds ridiculous. It sounds like I'm
No, it's not.
like a paranoid germaphobe, but that's the norm. I think people
Yeah.
have to understand, like, that's what most people on my flight back to Taipei, that's how everybody was like equipped with, like with some people even go to the extent of wearing a hazmat suit. You see in those like in disaster.
Paul was wearing one. I've seen the picture. Paul
Oh.
sent me a picture when he was
Yeah.
boarding the flight.
Yes. It's not an exaggeration. I would have wear one if I had one.
I feel like it's like if I can get one, I will wear it.
Me too, yeah.
Amazing.
I wanted it. That's why I was wearing a raincoat. The reason I'm wearing a raincoat and swimming goggles is not because I want to. It's because I couldn't find a substitute, which is like
Yeah.
awful, because swimming goggles are awful to wear. They're very uncomfortable, especially like you have to think of your
Yeah.
eyes stuck like,
Yeah.
for
And
12
you know
hours.
the cold is it's too hot for people who stay in the flight.
Yes.
I just feel I can't breathe. I can't breathe.
Yeah, it's especially when your face is also covered and your eyes are also covered. It feels like someone put like a whole bag over your head
Yeah.
for 12 hours. And also, like, I was advised by my parents, and a lot of people do not eat food or drink water on a flight, which makes it
Yeah.
10 times worse. You are dehydrated, you're hungry, and you're without air. You almost feel like you're suffocating on the edge of suffocating. That was like the most painful like flight of my life. You're stuck in this small corner, and to make it worse, my cabin mate, the person sitting next to me, was having food every meal. So I was smelling that delicious on-flight meal. Probably there's a risk of viruses on there, but it still smells very, very, very delicious. It's just very awful for me, and I was just like trying to make it through 12 hours just listening to music. I was hardly sleeping. Sometimes I fell asleep, and 3 seconds later I was wakened by someone coughing in the air. It's like it gets you so on edge. I'm
Yes.
normally not the kind of person who's like really anxious, really panicky on these kind of stuff, but the atmosphere, everybody's kind of quiet, but also you can still feel people walking. But at least eventually I landed home, and the most honestly the reassuring thing I got during my flight was actually when I landed back in Taipei, and the first thing I got out of the plane was people wearing protective gear. They were wearing glasses and mask, and it was basically like a health checkpoint where they will question where you came from. They will ask you to fill your information and fill in your number, your phone calls. And the thing is, normally under normal circumstances, because the thing is, they will ask you to call. They'll check your phone, see if it's working, operational, and they will use that. They will track that phone. They'll track your location to, just in case you have an infection, it will be easier to find people. Normally that would be like an invasion of privacy, but these are desperate times, and you sort of just have to go with it. And I'm at least glad there are people doing that. Like there are a lot of news where idiotic people broke their quarantine rules. It's in Taiwan. I believe in every other country it's 14 days. Once you landed, you are by law required to self-isolate yourself in your room or your house, away from your family, your parents, your friends, all that kind of stuff. But in Taiwan, they are quite strict about that. They'll track your location. Somebody will constantly call you to ask on your status. They will ask for your health situation, health status, and I'm happy with that. These are the situations we're dealing with, and I'm glad they're able to do this. And I feel like a lot of countries are picking up on those strategies as well, because we've been doing that since early March, I think. And yeah, they were quite strict even before March about traveling. They do inspections and checks and all that. Yeah, so that's my hellish travel experience. Hopefully you guys have better ones than me. What about you, Paul?
Actually, I just got 18 hours in my trip, so I feel much better than you. But I got a bad nose, so I must go to the toilet when I in the flight. So it's really serious. It's really serious or dangerous for me to go to the toilet. I need to go across.
Oh.
Then there are a lot of people around me. I just feel like I don't want to touch anyone. Please. Then I go to the toilet. So anyway, I go back to China from 23rd of March, and from Newcastle to London to Shanghai, and I arrived Shanghai on 24th of March. And as I talked before, it took me 18 hours to go back. I feel so worried before I go back to China, because it seems to that UK will lock down in the coming few days. So I was so scared. I don't want to be locked in UK because I don't prepare anything. I don't prepare so many things in my house. And as a question I have talked in my country, most of the flights, they are cancelled because we want to control the number of people who came back from the abroad. So it gave us fewer tickets. I'm so lucky because my flight wasn't cancelled, and most connecting flights in Europe or Southeast Asia have been cancelled because of the border closures. So some of my friends, they can just stay at UK because they can't go back. It was a sad story, I think. And I think I want to talk why too many people want to go back, because I think most of the Chinese people, we don't think the herd immunity is the right way, because China is the first country who confirmed the coronavirus, So we just think we should keep all the people away from others, because nobody will know who got the virus. And we cut down all the connections between different people, between different groups of people, to make everyone safety. And also this week Boris was confirmed positive. This is a result of the herd immunity, I can just say. During the trip, I feel so tired. I have the similar equipment as Jerry. I wear masks all the Jerry. I have the raincoat outside, and all the people I think most of the people in my flights, they have the same equipment as me, and I also have the how to call this one?
Detail?
Yeah.
Like,
I have the paper with me, and I also got the plastic gloves. Just try to keep myself away from the public tools. So after I get off the flights, we were seriously protected and sent to test whether we got the coronavirus. My result is negative, so I can be sent back to my own place to quarantine myself, and on 26th of March. Now I was just stay at my home. That's all.
That's great. Thank you so much, Paul. Any travel tips for anybody who has to fly?
Just like, if you can have a sleeping pill before you go on the flights, and just sleep all the way, then get out.
I wish I took sleeping pills as well. Jesus. Oh.
Take it. Like
Yeah.
I can't go to sleep. I can't go to sleep, and I feel so worried, and so many different kinds of
Mm.
the expressions. So
Mhm.
I just feel like if people want to be a bit calm down, please take a sleeping pill, maybe. And don't forget to protect yourself, like the glasses, gloves, masks, and the clothes.
Mm-hmm. Like I like here's the thing, Paul. Like, because my parents
Mhm.
told me to wear the glasses. Do you know why
Yeah,
we have to wear glasses? Like, does the virus
So you
infect
don't touch.
our eyes?
So you don't touch.
like if like the virus, they will go inside, maybe go inside your body through your tears.
Oh.
So like it's just make sure it won't be exploded by the air or by the water, by the tears or something.
Mhm.
And also when you talk with the people, and you split some of your,
Yes.
uh, I don't know how to call, maybe
The speed.
just protect yourself when you speak with different people.
Yes. Yeah. I was told not to talk too much during
Yeah,
travels, which is like
yeah,
quite hard because like if
and or just when you talk with the people, you should have 1 meter between each other.
yes.
Mm.
Yeah. What about you, Alex? What's your travel experience like?
Well, at least it was a lot shorter, to be honest, which I think might have made it better than yours. But yeah, so as I said before, my original plan, which I wanted to follow, because I rather get halfway through, but at least get to Spain, and I'll be in Spain. And if I have to deal with whatever I have to deal to get to Madrid from Alicante, I will, because it's easier to just get stranded somewhere in your country and then try to get to your city than stay stranded in London. They close London down, and what do? You
Yeah.
know. So I took the plane, and I actually wrote an article about this for the Courier, but I was really sad because, first of all, the airport, there were not many people on it, which it's fine, it's better. But I was really, really infuriated because the people that were taking my flight, it was originally supposed to be 170 something people with tickets. Only 60 people came. So yeah, we were 60 people. Out of those 60 people, only 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 people, 6 of us were Spanish, clearly students going back home to be with our families. The rest of the people were elder-ish English men who were going there for holiday. Holiday. Spain had already declared the state of emergency. They had already started closing down bars, hotels, restaurants, and these people were going to I don't know about you, but I don't want to spend my holidays in a country which is second in infections. Not thank you. And not only that, but these people, which by the way are a risk group, they were coughing without covering their mouth, and they were like,
maybe we should ask why they didn't go to Italian.
Yeah.
I honestly don't know. I was so infuriated because it was this particular woman. First of all, I had a very stressful week because it was with the elections and the NUSU elections and the whole thing. I was really stressed. I had my original plane ticket was on the 20th, and I had to buy another one. And we didn't know if they were going to close the borders. We didn't know if I was going to make it. And it was really stressful. And I had like a panic attack for like 4 hours before boarding, and a panic attack on the morning for 4 hours again. Like, it was crazy. I had to take a lot of anxiety pills too. Like, I was a mess. And this woman started saying that the flight was actually canceled. We were just waiting to board, by the way. And this woman, while we were waiting, she was like, oh, the flight is actually canceled, and they just want us to, they're not saying anything because they just want us to sit down. And the moment we sit down on the plane, they're going to tell us to leave. Because that way they don't have to return the money from the ticket. I was like, you're kidding me. And then she was like, because there are flights which are like setting off, and then halfway through they're coming back, because that way they don't have to give you the money back. And I'm like, listen, woman, shut up, because this experience is stressful enough without you having to come up with hoaxes and conspiracy theories. Like, I've had enough. And I was this close to actually standing up and saying, listen, shut up, because there are people here who are not going for holidays. We actually are trying to get to our freaking families. And, you know, we don't know if we're going to make it. And we're clearly upset. Like, you could see there was this girl covered with a mask. She was clearly Spanish because she was speaking Spanish with her mom. And she was speaking with her mom all the way through. And you could hear how she was trying to hold back the tears and the anxiety just to not worry her mom. It was just crazy. Like, the people were so self-absorbed and so oblivious to the whole situation. And the fact that you can, without a bit of shame, say that you're going to Spain for holidays, when the government has actually asked tourists not to go, and for people not to leave unless it's an emergency. Like, it was just yeah, sorry, Paul.
I mean, I think that's why the country should say they will look down themselves to avoid any other people to go to their country, just to avoid the situation happen.
Here's the thing, so when the country declares lockdown, and in Italy it happens the same way, sorry. You cannot say we're on lockdown and make that immediate. So you have to give 24 hours for it to actually be put in place. So we knew they were going to declare lockdown as I was in the flight. And it did happen. They were saying that they were going to close borders while I was on the plane. But luckily, they were giving this 24-hour period. So when I got to Alicante, I went running to the station and I talked to one of the managers, and he was like, don't worry, everything that is set for today, it's gonna leave, but we don't know about tomorrow. And they closed borders officially on Monday, and this was a Saturday. This was the 14th of March.
That was close. That was so close.
It was very, very close. It was so stressful. But I was just very surprised because you could see who was Spanish because we were all covered. Like, I couldn't find a mask, so I was covered with a scarf. And I have gloves, the disposable gloves on me all the time. I made my best effort not to touch my face, and I didn't touch my face for the whole day, which I was very proud of. and then the people who were clearly English in that plane were just not worried about it, and it was just their way, the way they were behaving. And by all means, I'm not saying that everyone who's English behaves like this, but this particular group that was in my plane, who by the way was a risk group, I repeat, they were just so there, and it was very infuriating, because it was just lack of consideration for the rest of the people and for the situation itself. It was just like Boris Johnson saying, well, people are gonna die, and then getting coronavirus.
Yeah, it's not just like they risk your lives, they also risk other people's lives, like traveling during this time, irresponsible. It's that's why, like, when I was heading back to my home, on my way, there was a lot of people calling to close the border entirely, and people are obviously quite infuriated because before March there were only 30 cases. Things are quite contained, but once the outbreak starts happening in Europe, in America, in other countries, the number starts going up and up and up and up.
Yeah.
And that's when people are starting to realize all new cases. It's literally we jump from 30 to 80, from 80 to 100 over the duration of 2 weeks. When in the first 3 months we only have 30 cases. It's like it's not hard to understand why people are calling to close the border entirely. I'm lucky, I guess. Like people are reminded the government be like, there's still a lot of international students. There are still people, our own citizens, still aboard. That's not, they did not travel out there voluntarily. They were there studying. Their semester isn't over yet. It's not like they can just come back home just like that. And of course, there are also people, like you mentioned, Alex, think this is a great opportunity to go on traveling, to go for tourism because the flights are cheap.
But the thing is, like, apparently they had this booked prior, but they just didn't want to lose the money, which, by the way, Ryanair already said that they were going to refund or at least try to work with people who wanted to reschedule. But the thing is, like, Spain had closed beaches, restaurants, bars, clubs, pubs, hotels, Airbnbs. Everything was closed because they didn't want people to move out of their house. We cannot even go out to exercise like it is on the UK. So it was completely pointless because these people were going to go to Spain. They wouldn't be able to move in 15 days or more because we now are in lockdown for 15 more days. So it's going to finish on supposedly on the 11th of April. So they cannot move from Spain until the 11th of April. And they cannot go anywhere except for the hotel.
Yeah. It's ridiculous. Like, what's the point of traveling then? Yeah. Because you see people be like, oh, this is a great time to go to Paris. And you're like, yeah, have you seen the situation in Paris? Like, literally everything is closed. Even the Eiffel Tower is closed. Like, you're not able to get anywhere. Like, this is not a good opportunity to travel. It's irresponsible. And worst of all, like you said, there are old people doing that as well. But young people, millennials, are also doing that because they think it's a great time to take advantage of the...
Yeah, in Florida. The guy from Florida from the spring break. Sorry, Paul, go ahead. Oh, yeah, the guy that went viral with the Florida spring break saying that if I get corona, I get corona.
Yeah, I saw that news. And before I go back to China, I saw some of the teenagers of UK. They just like make fun with each other. They cough to each other and talk. Don't worry, I don't have corona to each other. They just take it as a funny story. They don't think it's so serious,
Mm-hmm.
I just feel like, okay, do what you want, but I will keep away from you.
Yeah.
It's infuriating because I think everybody here understood like the desperation of trying to get home, to be with your family, especially in these circumstances. Like it's when you see people are literally trolling, like they'd be like, oh, I want to get, I see videos of people on the plane licking their seats, and you'd be like, why? Like, you've seen all the equipment we're wearing, it's just to not get the virus, and they're intentionally trying to do that.
And without even corona being something, licking your seat on a plane is disgusting. Yes. Without corona, with or without corona, don't lick your seat. Like, maybe you don't get corona, but you're gonna get syphilis or something worse.
Yeah, it's just unsanitary and stupid. Like, it's like, please don't do that in any circumstances. Like, it's not cool, and it's also shows the privilege people are in. Because I think international students will, in some way or the other, are more alertive to these situations. To like even early on, I think like I was early on. My parents was quite, they gave me a talking, and be like, oh, you had to be alertive. I was like, I'll just downplay. I was like, that's fine. We're further away. But when cases start showing up, like there's no denying it. You have to face the situation you are in, and I think for a lot of people, because they just never went through any situation like this before, they just think, oh, it's gonna pass. It's just like any other flu, but scientifically, it has shown it's deadlier, 10 times deadlier than the flu. It's not something you can just scoff at, and even if like it's not something you get it and you can just recover it from. There is high percentage chance of you literally after getting it, recovering it, it may come back. It may permanently damage your body. It's quite dangerous, and I think a lot of people just didn't realize just how high risk it is. We all are very careful. We are all very scared. Like when I get back home and I'm here, I self-isolate, not because I like to. I don't think anybody loves being self-isolated in the house for 14 days. I mean, if you're a nerd like me, it's good to play video games, watch films, voluntarily. But when you're forced into a situation, you have to be isolated for 14 days without your friends and family. It's a tough situation. It's not easy, So I think we need to be sympathetic towards people who are in self-isolation, but also, be aware of your privileges, because not everybody could self-isolate. A lot of people are on the line, a lot of health workers, a lot of people working in the supermarkets. These people are actually out there risking their lives for you. There's no need to go outside if you don't. It's tough. We all know it's tough, but yeah, it's like the people we have right now, from Spain, from China, from Taiwan, from Shweta, from India. So thank you everybody for coming. I think the show has been, for the most part, quite smoothly, albeit Shweta's sudden exit, but I hope we can get her back for the next show. And also, for more content, for more stuff, look forward for the written stuff on our website. We are looking to produce more blog posts, articles, and features or analysis. We are looking for more volunteers or participants. It doesn't matter what background you're from, where you're from. We welcome you with arms. And I hope we will encourage more people to join in, because this is everybody's fight. I hope we get through this. Everybody stay safe, stay at home, stay your distance. Don't go out if it's not essential. And that's pretty much it.
By the way, if anyone wants to contact us, we have an email set up, and that's quarantk@gmail.com. So it's QUARANTK@gmail.com. We'll leave that in the description though, or under the video. I don't know how we're gonna do it. Post-production can take care of it. But if anyone's interested on what Jerry said, participating or anything, just drop us an email and we can sort it out.
For now, we're all signing off. I'm signing off from Taipei.
Shanghai.
Alex?
Spain.
Thank you, everybody. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening.